So first you want to determine what you're going to pot on, and there'll be a binder that you look in to get alphabetically the first variety. Things are a little unorganized right now, so I have Red Lake, but ideally I would see what's at the beginning of the alphabet, because you want to put things on the bench alphabetically so that you can, when you're looking for plants, you have an idea of where to look for them, because there's so many varieties. So alphabetical is very important. Then in that book will be what kind of soil mix you use. This is our main soil mix for most things, but there's things that are acid loving. There's a different mix for seed starting and a different mix for cuttings. For potting mix, you basically have two mixes, and we'll have a list that says what that is. Again, these are red currants. So it's really important when potting on that you get your mix right. Blood meal provides the nitrogen which the plants need to grow. We do 3 cups of blood meal to 1 bag of soil. I have 2 bags in here, so I'm going to do 6 cups. Too much nitrogen and you can burn the roots of the plants. Too little nitrogen and the plants won't grow, they'll be yellowish. So getting that mix right and mixing it well is important. We're going for the NPK, nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. The bone meal is phosphorus. Phosphorus and potassium help the plant roots and cell structure be strong, and helps with, especially the phosphorus helps with bloom. So this is bone meal, that white powder. So mixing is really important. I discourage people from mixing with their hands because it's hard to get to all the corners. We just want to make sure all the amendments are evenly distributed, that they're at the bottom. So when you get to the bottom, you still have the right amount of amendments and nutrition for the plants. So don't skimp on mixing. Also in the book you'll see you need to ascertain what size pots and flats they go into. It's important when you get to shipping, you want everything to be in the right size pot. Usually when you have the soil bins, you'll be doing 3 bags of soil, can fit in the soil bins. I think each, yeah. Okay, so then when I'm doing the plug trays, I usually fill up my pots first. So while someone's mixing the soil, you've identified what plugs you're going to pot on. Someone can be getting the pots ready in the right flats. These are 4x6 pots. Most of our bushes go in them. And then if I had one, I would have like a gallon pot, but I'll just use this now. You just want to, you could use a shovel. Fill up. So someone can be filling up flats and stacking them ready to get them pot on. You want to firm down the soil. You don't need to do excessive firming, but a lot of times soil can really settle and you think you've filled it up, but it's only half full, and that's not that great for the plant. So you want to get them the full capacity of soil. Depending on the size of your cell plugs, you might not necessarily fill them up all the way. The pots, you might partially fill them up. And then you can top them off. So then after I do that, I make a little room and you're ready to pot on. Be careful of roots, they get damaged easily. It can cause them to suffer more in the transplanting process. We use these cell plug trays to avoid too much disturbance of roots. So you can, if the root ball is filled out, you want to just gently squeeze
That's used for like the big crew that we have.
And lightly pull. Take out any weeds.
People and start getting people on potting on because
and then you can just make a space
is there enough,
and put your start in. So you don't want to plant plants too deep because the stem can rot, and some plants are more sensitive to that than others. You want the ultimate level of soil in the pot to just be a 1/4 inch below the top when it's firmed. You want to leave a little bit of space so when you water, if it's too full, the water will pool off. So you just want to leave that little bit of space so the water sinks in. You want the planting depth of the cell plug to be at about the top level of the soil with just a little bit of soil over it. So that's ideal. You never want to really sink the plant in. For the most part, you don't want to do that because you could potentially have the plant rot. So I just kind of go through. These are easy to pull out. And you don't need, sometimes people do kind of excessive firming. You don't need to excessively firm, just one nice firm to each plant. And then in the end, you can top them off. So make a hole. If the roots are kind of long, I'll let the roots go in there first. I don't have any of that. And I would usually have like a pot of extra soil here to top off. So so here's one where there's some extra roots. I would just really get my hole kind of deep, let those roots get in there. And then again, just do. You want the plant ideally in the middle of the pot. You want it straight up, which you can. But you don't really want to spend too much time on that because you got a lot of plants to do. So then, the real important part, I won't do the whole plant now, is tagging. Ideally, you will already have tags made up. So this is a Red Lake Red Currant. If you don't, always use A.M. Leonard marking pens because other pens will fade. So it is important to use the right kind of marking pen or you won't know ultimately what you have to sell. And the other important thing is to tighten it to its tightest little tag notch, or it's hard to believe, but they just loosen and fall off. So, and then you don't have tags. I've had that happen. So if you just do that, you'll probably lose your tag. So then the other really important thing after everything's tagged is how you water in. And especially in the summertime, it can take a while to moisten the soil. You can pre-moisten the soil. If it's really dry and it's really hot. But once you get your plants potted on and all tagged, you really want to gently just really water them in well. If it's really hot out, I'll do this for a little bit, and then when I go back to put a second flat, I'll re-water the first flat. And then when I have the second flat, I'll go and I'll re-water that, because it takes a while for the soil, for the water to really sink in to the bottom. And sometimes I'll even put my finger in there to see if it's wet, because a lot of people don't realize that the water really needs to get to the bottom of the roots or they'll dry out. You need to check back on your plants the next day, later in the day, and say, oh, how are they looking, you know, and also check the water level of them. And you just want to watch and go methodically over the whole flat if there are plants in it. And then put it on the bench according to its alphabetically where it goes. A simple process, yet it can go wrong.
What are the things people get wrong?
People get planting depth wrong. I've seen people drown blueberries because they planted them really deep. People almost across the board, the largest percent of people don't water enough, don't water as deeply, don't go back and water, or they forget to water. It's kind of hard to imagine, but that is probably the biggest loss. Not putting the tags on tight, so tags just come off. All those things that I brought up are things I've noticed. people do. And I guess the small thing is people throw this on the ground and then they step on them and they get dirt in them. So hang up your sprayer and yeah, and talk to your planties and say, oh, nice planties, you're gonna grow up and go to people's houses and feed them.